Hey, I'm Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to A Music Is Not a Genre very special announcement. I'm not even going to do the hand gestures this week. That's how special it is. I think I've only done one other special announcement in the entire run of this podcast, which is well over 6 seasons now, 6.5 seasons, I guess you would say. And that's because I like to bring you something new every week. I try not to skip more than a couple weeks out of the year, because that's how I like to listen to my podcasts, and that's what I want to bring to you. But this thing that's happening right now is too special for me to just mention in passing. So I am dedicating this very short message to that thing this week instead of doing an episode. And that thing is that my band Wreck's new album, Kite to Camden, is finally here. It came out Friday, November 8th. I'll tell you where you can get it later on. It's not streaming everywhere yet, and I'll tell you why as well. And I'll tell you more about the album in a future episode. I'm actually doing a spotlight interview in a week or two, and you'll get to hear everything about every track and some samples and all of that stuff. But if you want to hear the entire album, you can only hear it on Bandcamp and Patreon. So a little bit about the album. It is 14 tracks. All the tracks are seamlessly sequenced, one after another, nonstop. It starts in one way and ends in another way and goes everywhere in between. It goes to electro, pop, rock, hip-hop, funk, ambient, straight-ahead weirdness is kind of what I call it. And you know electro power pop is Wreck's thing. And the reason I say any of that is because, as you may know from this show, I have a huge passion for so many kinds of music and talking about it in so many different ways. And that has informed how I make music, because then I have a huge passion to express myself in all kinds of ways. I'm the kind of artist that doesn't like to be put into a box, and so I've created my own box. You could say it's an ever-expanding box, but that box is a sound, it's a style, it's an aesthetic, and that includes everything I just mentioned. And, you know, I like surprises. I love surprises, honestly. But there are times when it's better to know what's coming. And because there are already so many surprises on this album, I think you should know what to expect so that when you get there, you're ready for it. Which is why I mentioned to you these 14 songs, nonstop sequencing. You can listen to them one by one. Pick some songs you like based on the track titles, whatever you'd like. I would recommend that you listen to it all at once, only because that's the best experience you're going to get out of it. It does tell a story, and that story is about kind of coming out from the depths of self-involvement and, you know, asking questions. Maybe those questions deserve answers, maybe they don't, and finding a way toward the light in a certain way. Sounds really heavy. And sometimes those lyrics really do get there, but most of it is just about having fun with as many kinds of music as possible. And again, it's electro, it's pop, it's rock, it's hip-hop, it's funk, it's ambient, it's straight ahead so often. You've heard some of the singles. It's weird so often. And that's about all I'm going to say to describe it. Again, next week or the week after, I'm going to do a spotlight interview and talk about the album in depth. But until then, if you want to hear the album, you need to go to either Bandcamp or Patreon. So you can go to Rec Area, that's R-E-C area, one word, at bandcamp.com, recarea.bandcamp.com. Pay $10 to hear the album, or join, and you can hear everything on there. Become a member. Or you can go to patreon.com/musicisnotagenre, which you know very well. Not only will you be supporting this podcast and my music and join an amazing group of people and get to weigh in on future topics and music and all of that stuff, you get Wreck's Kite to Camden in 2 ways. In fact, my Patreon people already have it. And I gave it to them in 2 ways. One was something I'm calling the one shot. And the one shot is I took all 14 tracks and put them in one file. So instead of 14 WAV files or MP3s or however you listen, it's just one 54-minute file, back to back to back to back, all the way through the 14 songs, because that's the way it's meant to be heard. But for those of you who don't want to listen to 54 minutes of music and give that attention all at once, I understand that. I think it's a great thing to do, but I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. I put a back end link in that same post on Patreon that only industry people like record labels and critics and all of that and close people to me get. And at that link, you can listen to the songs one at a time. Again, prefer listen in order, but honestly, you pick and choose. It's also a fun experience because if you listened to track 11, Eat Salvation, and then listen to track 6, Way Too Rough, and then listen to track 9, Song Okay, and then listen to track 14, The Mad Philosopher, you're going to be like, how does this all fit together? And it may compel you to want to listen to the entire thing back to back to back to see how it all fits together, because it really, really does all fit together. So why am I only releasing it on Bandcamp and Patreon? I stream everything. You know I do. I love to stream things because I love, my music to be in as many places as possible all over the world. Love for as many people to hear it as possible. There are 3 reasons why I am not streaming, I should say, this album. And that is, number 1, I want to honor my supporters, the people who have given me their time and attention and money, whether on Bandcamp or Patreon, by giving it to them first. I think that's something that I like to do, because support is the thing we're all looking for. And when you get it, you should honor it. You should thank it. And that's number 1. Number 2, as I've mentioned before, it's hard for an original musician to make money. It's always been hard, but it's doubly, triply, quadruply hard now because of streaming revenue being so low, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And me releasing it only on Bandcamp and Patreon, let me be honest, is me saying, would you pay for this? This is an album that is worth paying for. It's an album that is worth $10. It is an album that's worth $5 a month on Patreon, or $1 a month on Patreon, or $10 a month on Patreon, or whatever you decide to do. Boy, it sounds like a pledge drive right now. But I mean that. I think every musician's music is worth something. And we listen to a lot of music for free or for extremely cheap. So any opportunity we can get as musicians and as listeners to, again, honor the music by paying for it, that's number 2. And number 3, I have interest from an independent record label who is listening to the album and may add it to their roster. And I don't want to jump the gun with streaming until I know what they want to do with it. If they don't like it, if the other labels I'm shopping to aren't into it and I release it independently, then yes, I will stream it. If not, then they may stream it or they will stream it. But that's not something that I can decide right now. So again, to sum up, you can only get it at recarea.bandcamp.com or patreon.com/musicisnotagenre. That is my band Rec, the new album, Kite to Camden. Please go check it out. Go listen. Let me know what you think. Let me know what confused you. Let me know the songs that you absolutely love. Let me know the songs you were like, how did that get on there? Let me know everything, because as always, my objectives are music, conversation, and connection. Thank you for hanging with me for this extremely special announcement that means more to me than really the entire 250 episodes of this podcast. Go to those links, recarea.bandcamp.com or patreon.com/musicisnotagenre. Check out the album, and I will talk to you next week.